For millions of television viewers, Bill Bixby was a friendly, relatable face. From his role in My Favorite Martian to his role as Dr. David Banner in The Incredible Hulk, he was the embodiment of a gentle hero who fought adversity with dignity and kindness. But behind the warm smile and family man image on screen, Bill Bixby's personal life was a series of unimaginable tragedies. This is the true story of Bill Bixby, a beloved star who suffered terrible loss and an extraordinary strength, the hero we never really knew. To truly understand the unique appeal and the profound impact of Bill Bixby, we need to transport ourselves back to the cultural landscape of mid-20th century America. He was born Wilfred Bailey Everett Bixby III in 1934, into a world that was still grappling with the Great Depression, but on the cusp of profound change. The America of his youth was one where television was just beginning its ascent, slowly but surely displacing radio as the primary source of home entertainment and news. The 1950s and 60s, when Bixby was coming of age and starting his career, were a pivotal time for the small screen. Television wasn't yet fragmented into hundreds of channels. It was a communal experience. Families gathered around their sets in the evenings, watching a handful of networks. The stars of these shows became honorary members of millions of households. They weren't just actors. They were familiar faces, trusted voices, woven into the fabric of daily life. This era valued a certain kind of wholesome, accessible charm, a relatability that could bridge diverse audiences. Bill Bixby, with his gentle demeanor, intelligent eyes, and effortless appeal, was perfectly suited for this burgeoning medium. Growing up in San Francisco, Bixby initially had no grand ambitions for Hollywood. He was an only child, raised by his mother, a department store owner, and his father, a retail executive. He attended Lowell High School, a prestigious public school, and later the University of California, Berkeley, where he studied drama. However, his academic career was somewhat interrupted by military service in the Marine Corps Reserve, a common path for young men of his generation. Upon returning, he continued his studies at Los Angeles City College, but the pull of the stage and screen was growing stronger. His early career was a classic Hollywood hustle. He took on odd jobs, including working as a lifeguard and a bellhop, all while taking acting classes and performing in local theater productions. This period instilled in him a strong work ethic and a deep appreciation for the craft, far removed from the glitz and glamour that would later surround him. It was a time when actors were still seen as craftsmen, not just celebrities. In the early 1960s, Bixby began to take guest roles on popular television shows, marking a modest but promising start to his career. He appeared in The Many Loves of Dobie Gillis, 1961, Dr. Kildare, 1962, and Ben Casey, 1963. A handsome young man of 5 feet 9 inches, dark hair, and a warm smile, Bixby possessed an innate ability to convey sincerity and intelligence through subtle expressions, qualities that producers quickly recognized in auditions, helping him stand out from the crowded field of young actors in post-World War II Hollywood. He didn't have the rugged, fierce exterior of a bad boy like Steve McQueen, who was famous for his adventurous image in action movies, nor the dark inner turmoil of a method actor like Marlon Brando or James Dean, who often delved into the Stanislavski method to express internal conflict. Instead, Bixby's strength lay in his ability to subtly portray ordinary men, office workers, reporters, or young doctors, in extraordinary situations, often with a touch of subtle humor through gentle gestures or witty dialogue, creating a sense of closeness and empathy for the general audience. It was this personality that became his trademark, the basis for the characters that would soon make him a television star, reflecting the shift in American entertainment at the time from major motion pictures to family television series, where audiences sought comfort and light entertainment amid the Cold War and rising social movements. It was his unique blend of warmth in his deep voice and sincere eyes, wit through his improvisational humor, and understated charm that made him the perfect choice for his breakthrough role in 1963. Tim O'Hara, a young newspaper reporter in the CBS science fiction sitcom My Favorite Martian, which ran from 1963 to 1966 for a total of 107 episodes. The film was a cultural phenomenon, tapping into America's fascination with space and science fiction during the era of the U.S.-Soviet space race, especially after Yuri Gagarin's 1961 flight and President Kennedy's promise to land a man on the moon, but grounding it in a humorous, relatable premise. An alien crash lands on Earth and cohabitating with humans. Bixby plays a straightforward, matter-of-fact man opposite Ray Walston's eccentric Martian Martin, a veteran actor with a third arm and comedic superpowers, who anchors the film with sincerity through the hidden secrets and the delightful frustration of having to deal with the chaos Martin causes, such as shape-shifting or stopping time. To millions of viewers, he's a friendly, calm human being who navigates the absurd with grace. The show cemented his status as a beloved television personality, an actor who radiated good nature and intelligence. The success of My Favorite Martian, which sold merchandise such as toys and comic books, catapulted him into the ranks of top TV stars, earning him a long-term contract and critical acclaim, and expanding his career to directing several episodes. He followed it up with another hit in 1969, ABC's The Courtship of Eddie's Father, based on the 1963 Glenn Ford film of the same name, which ran from 1969 to 1972 for 73 episodes, in which he played Tom Corbett, a widowed father and magazine editor, raising his young son, Eddie. The role brought out Bixby's natural warmth and emotional depth, with honest dialogue about fatherhood, dating, and loss, cementing his image as a kind, trustworthy, and compassionate father, especially through his mentoring relationship with Cruz, where Bixby supports the boy from a broken home by inviting him to stay with him. It was a role that resonated deeply with audiences in an era that was exploring the changing dynamics of family relationships amid the rise of feminism and divorce after World War II, with themes such as single parenting and work-life balance, highlighted by the Harry Nilsson theme song, Best Friend. For many, he became the ideal on-screen father, with his gentleness, humor, and enduring love. These early successes painted a picture of a man who lived a full life, a beloved TV star who moved effortlessly from one hit show to the next, was about to turn the tide of his public image. The calmness he brought to his characters soon became a necessity in real life as he faced a series of personal tragedies that tested his mental limits. The man who brought so much comfort to so many found little comfort in himself. Bill Bixby met actress Brenda Benet in the early 1970s. Brenda was a beautiful and talented actress, best known for her role as Lee Dumond on the long-running television series Days of Our Lives. They quickly fell in love and married in 1971. In their early years, they were Hollywood's golden couple. Both had successful careers and were often seen together at events. Their life seemed complete when they welcomed their only son, Christopher Sean Bixby, on September 25, 1974, a bright, energetic boy who was the pride of his father. Bixby loved his son very much, and fatherhood brought him a deep joy that overshadowed his career achievements. He often spoke of Christopher with almost burning pride, cherishing every moment with his son. But Bill Bixby's life was a cruel irony of resounding success and inner heartbreak. While his career flourished, bringing him admiration and professional success, his private world was systematically shattered by a series of almost unbearable losses. Their happiness was completely destroyed in March 1981. During a skiing trip, little Christopher, then 6 years old, suddenly fell ill. He was diagnosed with acute epiglottitis. This is a rare, rapidly progressing bacterial infection that causes swelling in the throat, potentially blocking the airway. At the time, while treatable with modern medicine, it could be fatal if not caught and addressed immediately. Christopher had been with his mother at the time, visiting friends. He suddenly became ill, and despite frantic efforts to get him medical attention, the disease progressed with terrifying speed. He passed away. The news utterly shattered Bill Bixby. In the midst of his grief, Bill Bixby has made a rare attempt to break out of his personal shell. Just weeks after the sudden death of his son, Christopher Sean Bixby, Bixby appeared on The Mike Douglas Show, a decision that reflected his ingrained professionalism, but perhaps also a pressing need to open his grief to the public rather than bury it as he had always done. In that interview, he spoke haltingly, his voice choked with grief, his eyes red, and his face haunted by memories, describing the overwhelming, incomprehensible pain of losing his only child, the boy he had once boasted of being everything in his life, from his daily laughs to his cherished plans for the future. "Nothing in the world can prepare you for that," he said, his voice shaking, noting that the pain was beyond any previous experience, including the death of his father in 1971, and that it left him feeling completely devastated, with sleepless nights, blaming himself for his demanding work schedule that prevented him from being there for his son when he needed him most. He spoke of how Christopher was not even 5 years old when it happened. In fact, he was only 6, but the small details showed how young his son was, how many lives had been taken needlessly, and he bitterly recalled in later interviews that the boy suffocated while a doctor was removing a splinter from another doctor's finger, reflecting an initial, almost revenge-seeking anger at the health system that turned to acceptance and transformed into a relentless drive to work. Such public disclosure was out of character for Bixby, who was usually very private about his personal life. He had avoided interviews about his family, preferring to maintain an on-screen ideal man image. But the gravity of this particular tragedy overcame his usual reticence, leading him to become more open about his grief, even taking part in charitable activities such as supporting the Make-A-Wish Foundation to help seriously ill children, seeing it as a way to honor his son and turn his personal tragedy into a force for community support. Christopher's death had a profound impact on Bixby's life and marriage, sending him into an emotional spiral that he described as a 2-year rage mixed with regret and deep loneliness, leading him to frequently talk to his son in his home, which was still filled with pictures of Christopher even years later. He and Brenda Benet divorced in 1981 after a tumultuous decade of marriage, with the pressures of their public careers and personal differences wearing them down, though they tried to maintain an amicable relationship for the sake of their son. However, they remained deeply attached to Christopher. The boy was the only medicine that kept them together after the divorce, with his shared parenting schedule and family memories, and his death brought a new, shared grief that tragically only exacerbated their own, leading to a complete breakdown in Benet's psyche and sending Bixby into a state of self-isolation at work to avoid facing reality head-on. Brenda Benet, a beautiful and talented actress, struggled mightily with the loss, falling into a severe depression as she was unable to overcome her guilt and the breakdown of her family. Her mental health rapidly declined, with signs of social isolation, loss of interest in work, and a return to her former relationship with Tammy Bruce for comfort, which ultimately proved futile. Less than a year after Christopher's death, on April 7, 1982, Brenda tragically committed suicide at her home in West Los Angeles. She arranged candles in a circle in the bathroom, lay down, and shot herself in the mouth with a Colt .38, killing herself instantly, an act believed to be the result of unbearable grief, although colleagues such as Al Rabin described her as still warm and caring on the outside. The news was another blow to Bill Bixby, who had once considered Benet the most important woman in his life, despite his divorce and the loss of his only child and then the child's mother, in such a short period of time, created a cumulative pain that few could understand, causing him to fall into a state of prolonged depression, increasing his work as a medicine to forget, and in his words, became a walking wound. These two tragedies fundamentally reshaped Bixby. While he continued to work, most notably with the Incredible Hulk series and its subsequent TV movies, those who knew him saw a profound change. The light in his eyes, while still present, was often tinged with an undeniable sadness. He channeled his pain into his work, using the discipline and focus of acting as a form of therapy, a way to keep going. He became even more dedicated to his craft, finding solace in the structure and demands of a production. Friends noted his extraordinary resilience, his refusal to completely succumb to despair, even when it seemed overwhelming. He never stopped being kind, never stopped being professional, but the easy joy of his earlier years was now layered with an unshakable melancholy. In the mid-1980s, after a series of personal tragedies, the losses plunged him into a deep depression and social isolation, even forcing him to seek support from friends. Bill Bixby attempted to rebuild his personal life by focusing on his directing career and finding emotional stability. He began dating Laura Jane Michael, an actress and producer, and married her on December 22, 1990, in Palm Springs, California, hoping it would be a fresh start after two previous failed marriages. However, the marriage lasted only a few months, officially ending in divorce in June 1991, as the lingering shadows of past losses, including lingering pain and self-blame, along with the increasing pressures of his career, became too much to bear, leading to emotional stress and unresolved disagreements, plunging Bixby into a deeper state of loneliness, where he shared in rare interviews that life is sometimes too harsh to bear alone. Then, in April 1991, another shock came, one that would eventually lead to death, when Bill Bixby was diagnosed with late-stage prostate cancer, an aggressive form of cancer with a low survival rate in its late stages, often spreading to the bones and other organs, causing prolonged pain and physical exhaustion. This was no small health scare, but an aggressive form of cancer that had metastasized, requiring aggressive treatment, and Bixby, whose previous health history included liver problems due to alcohol abuse during a period of depression following a family tragedy, underwent a prostatectomy at Cedars-Sinai Hospital in Los Angeles, combined with radiation and chemotherapy, battling the disease with characteristic quiet determination, often refusing to discuss it publicly to avoid burdening loved ones and maintaining the strong image he had built through roles such as David Banner in The Incredible Hulk, where the character also faced his own inner monsters. Again, he chose to keep much of his battle private, not wanting to be defined by his pain or be the sick man in the public eye, instead focusing on his work to maintain a sense of control and purpose. He once told friends that work is the best medicine, reflecting the resilience he developed while serving in the U.S. Marine Corps in the 1950s. He continued to work, even as his health declined, with symptoms including bone pain, extreme fatigue, and dramatic weight loss, taking on directorial roles on sitcoms such as Blossom, 1990 to 1995, where he directed some 30 episodes, including the final episode, which he completed just days before collapsing on set in November 1993 from complications of cancer that had spread to his liver and spine. He found love again, marrying in October 1993 Judith Cliben, an artist and widow of the humorist B. Cliben, whom he met through mutual connections in the arts, a testament to his enduring hope and belief in connection. Despite all the pain, all the loss, Bixby never truly became cynical or retreated from the world. He kept reaching out, seeking connection, and finding moments of joy and companionship even in his final days. It paints a picture of a man who, though battered by life, refused to be broken. His private joys were brief, often overshadowed by sorrow, but his capacity for love and hope, even amidst immense suffering, remained intact. It's this resilient spirit, this fragile beauty of the human experience, that makes his story so deeply resonant. Bill Bixby showed extraordinary strength and professionalism until his last days. Despite being in the final stages of prostate cancer and suffering from pain from treatment, he refused to rest. He continued to direct the popular sitcom Blossom. The cast and crew, especially the young star Mayim Bialik, expressed their amazement and deep admiration for him. They recalled that Bixby, despite his frail body, remained in the director's chair, calmly directing each scene with undiminished dedication. His courage became a great inspiration on the set. He worked almost to his last breath, completing his final episode just days before his death. Bill Bixby died peacefully at his home in Century City, California, on November 21, 1993, at the age of 59. The passing of Bill Bixby has caused a wave of deep grief across America and the world. For millions of people, he was more than just an actor. He was a friend, a television father, a part of their childhood memories. The public not only mourned a talent, but also deeply admired his courage. After he went public with his illness in 1992, his fight was widely followed. The way he faced personal tragedy and his own illness with extraordinary dignity made him a symbol of endurance. Lou Ferrigno, the Hulk. His co-star in The Incredible Hulk, was deeply saddened. Ferrigno always considered Bixby a mentor, a second father. He said, "Bill Bixby is the person who taught me how to be a real actor. He was a pioneer, a great person. I will miss him forever." Brandon Cruz, Eddie, who played his son in the courtship of Eddie's father, was also heartbroken. Cruz always considered Bixby to be the real father figure in his life, the man who taught him to play baseball and fish. Bixby's passing felt like losing a father all over again. Mayim Bialik, Blossom. She and the Blossom cast considered Bixby a beloved mentor. They praised his professionalism and kindness, even when he was in pain. Bill Bixby's death brought to an end a life marked by tragedy, but it also confirmed his legacy, a gifted artist and a man of extraordinary inner strength who faced adversity with equanimity until the very end. His story is ultimately not about tragedy, but about dignity in the face of tragedy. He is not defined by the losses he suffered, but by his unwavering resilience. Bill Bixby taught us that true heroism is not the physical strength to become a giant. It is the courage of a good person, a decent person, who never gives up, even when his heart is broken. And in that fight, he was a true hero.